Chapter 33 of Shrimadbhagavatam. Yajna, the son of Akuti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Swayambhu Manu had 3 daughters and 2 sons. The sons were Priyavrata and Uttanapada. The daughters were Akuti, Devahuti and Prasuti. Akuti was given by Manu to a rishi by name Ruchi. This marriage was performed in accordance with the rule called Putrika Dharma. When a man has only daughters and no sons, he gives away his daughters to a worthy man and says, I am giving you this maiden who has no brother. The son who is born to her must be your son as well as mine. Manu had 2 sons, and yet with a desire for another son he performed Akuti's marriage in this manner. Ruchi was great Rishi and an ardent devotee of Narayana. To him and Akuti were born 2 children, a son and a daughter. The son was Narayana himself, and he was named Yajna, since he was said to be the personification of Yajna. The daughter was named Dakshina, and she was the goddess Lakshmi. Manu was immensely pleased that the Lord himself had been born as his son and took him to his house. Dakshina stayed with Ruchi and Akuti. Yajna then married Dakshina according to religious rites. 12 sons were born to them. Every Manvantara, that is, every epoch of a Manu, has to have a Manu. Devas, Manu Putras, Sureshwaras, Rishis, and an avatara of Narayana. In Swayambhu Manvantara, that is, during the time of Swayambhu Manu, 12 sons of Yajna were the Sureshwaras, and the Rishis led by the Maricha were the 7 Rishis. Yajna was the avatara of Narayana and also Indra. Priyavrata and Uttanapada were the Manu Putras. The Swayambhu Manvantara was peopled by these. Devahuti was married to Kardama Prajapati, and her son was Kapila. Her daughters were 9. Kala, the eldest of them, was the wife of Marichi, and one of the sons was the great Kashyapa. Purnima was a daughter, and her daughter was Deva Kulya, who was later to be called Ganga. The next daughter, Shraddha, who was married to Angirasa, was the mother of Brihaspati. Havirbhu was the wife of Pulastya, and her son was Agastya. Vishravas was another son. The son of Vishravas was Kubera. The other wife of Vishravas was Kaikasi, and she was the mother of Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishana. Kratu's wife Kriya was the mother of the rishis by name Valakilyas. Khyati, the wife of Bhrigu, had 2 sons, one of whom was the father of Mrikhandu. Ushanas, who is better known as Kavi, was the son of Bhrigu. He was Shukra, the Acharya of the Asuras. Daksha Prajapati married Prasuti, the other daughter of Manu. They had 16 daughters. 13 of them were given to Dharma. 1 was given to Agni, 1 to Pitris, and 1 to Lord Mahadeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamastu. Chapter 34 of Shrimadbhagavatam. Dattatreya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Anasuya, the granddaughter of Manu, was given to Atri. On the slopes of the mountain Ruksha, Atri performed intense tapas. It was a peaceful spot. The river Nirvindhya flowed in gentle waves on all sides of the mountain. The music of the flowing river, the hum of the bees, which haunted the flower bushes in the ashrama, were all conducive to the peace which pervaded the atmosphere. There, with his senses under control, with his breath controlled by pranayama, and with his mind bent on tapas, Atri spent many years. Atri prayed for a son to be born to him. His prayer was, "May he, who is the Lord of Lords, grant me a son who will be like him." His tapas was intense, and even after 100 years, the rishi was intent on his tapas. The denizens of the heavens were afraid to see the fire which was emanating from his head as a result of the intensity of his tapas. The three Murtis, Vishnu, Mahadeva, and Brahma, went to the ashrama of Atri. The rishi saw their arrival, and realizing what a great privilege it was to see all three of them together at his doorstep, Atri got up in a flurry and received them with all the honor due to them. He found that words would not come easily to his lips, so overcome was he with emotion. He composed himself and looked at them. They stood with smiles lightening their face. With flowers he worshipped them, and he said, "The creation of the universe, the support of it, and the destruction of the same in the end are in the hands of the three of you. I worship you with words which are poor vehicles for my thoughts." Beautiful. I worship you with words which are poor vehicles for my thoughts. Tell me why all three of you have come to grace me. I prayed for the best among you to grant me a son in his image. It is up to you to tell me who is the greatest. Which of you will give me a son? Which of you is the greatest? Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara were amused by the words of Atri. They laughed at him and said, "You wanted a son in the image of the greatest of all. We did not want to disappoint you, and that is why we have come. The three of us comprise the Lord of Lords. Vishnu, Brahma, and Mahadeva are all three aspects of the Brahman. It is this same Brahman which creates, preserves, and destroys. We are the Brahman, and there is nothing to differentiate between any two of us. We wanted you to realize the truth about us, and that is why we have come, all three of us. You will be the father of three sons, each one an amsha of one of us. They will be famed the world over and bring you a great name. You will be happy." The son born to Atri with the amsha to Brahma was the moon. Datta was the son with the amsha of Vishnu, and the son in the image of Mahadeva was Durvasa. I repeat, the son born to Atri with the amsha to Brahma was the moon. Datta was the son with the amsha of Vishnu, and the son in the image of Mahadeva was Durvasa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Chapter 35 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Daksha's anger. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sati, one of the daughters of Daksha, was given to Mahadeva. Once, the great yagna by name Brahmasatra was being performed by Marichi and other great rishis. All the great sages, devas, and other denizens of the heavens were present. While the yagna was in progress, Daksha Prajapati entered the Yagashala. He was glowing like the sun, and the Yagashala was lit up by his magnificent presence. Such was his glory that all the rishis stood up as one man and honored him. Only two did not stand up and pay him the respect which had been paid by the others. One was Brahma and the other was Mahadeva. Daksha went to the presence of his father Brahma, fell at his feet, and took the dust of them on his head. With the permission of Brahma, Daksha sat down. He was very angry with Mahadeva since he did not join the others in honoring him. He could not brook this insult. With his eyes copper red with anger, Daksha said, "Brahma rishis are all assembled here, and in the presence of all of you, this man has insulted me. He took the hand of my beloved daughter in marriage, and I gave her to him. And so, it follows that he has to pay me respect. I am in the position of a guru to him, but he does not seem to know even the rudiments of decorum. He is puffed up with ego. He did not even talk to me with respect when I entered. I am sorry. I gave my daughter to this boor. I made a mistake in giving her away to an unworthy person. He is not well behaved. He is unclean. He is ignorant of the rules of conduct. He is proud. To such a man have I given my child. It is like teaching the Vedas to the unfit to pronounce it. He lives in the burning ground surrounded by pretas, bhutas, and pishachas. With his hair all matted and wild, he wanders naked in the burning ground. He laughs a while and weeps a while like one demented. He smears himself with the ashes from the funeral fire and wears a garland made of human skulls. His ornaments are human bones. He is Ashiva and he calls himself Shiva. He is full of tamas, the worst of the three gunas, and he is swollen with ego. As for his attendants, they are all afflicted with the same qualities. My father Brahma asked me to give my sati to him, and so I gave her to him. I regret it now. Daksha took water in his hand and began to curse Mahadeva. He said, this Mahadeva, the worst of all gods, will not receive any more a share of the yagnas like Indra, Upendra and the other gods do. Having cursed Mahadeva, Daksha did not tarry there even for a moment more. He went back to his home. Nandikeshwara, the ardent bhakta of Mahadeva, was very angry with Daksha, who had treated the Lord so badly. The slight to his master was too much. He got up and said, this Daksha is a fool. He thinks so highly of himself that he has forgotten who Mahadeva is. A man who can be so ignorant of the true nature of Mahadeva is really unfortunate. He will from now stray away from the grace of the Lord. He is no better than an animal which lives only for the gratification of its hunger and thirst. Daksha is therefore like a goat which has no intelligence. He will hereafter have the head of a goat. As for the rishis who were silent when Daksha pronounced the curse on Mahadeva, they will all suffer for this. These many followers of Daksha will hereafter go through the cycle of births and deaths. They will forget their real selves and their minds will be turned away from the Brahman. They will become engaged in tasks associated with worldly desires and the gratification of them. They will get so much involved in the rituals that they will lose their love for discipline, tapas. They will become susceptible to flattery, and with their minds clouded by ignorance, they will get involved in worldly things. They will have to beg for their food. This is the curse I pronounce on the supporters of Daksha. Bhrigu, the chief of the rishis assembled there, was beside himself with anger at the words of Nandikeshwara. He said, I curse the followers of Mahadeva. Those who worship him, those who consider him to be great, will hereafter be called Pashandis, hypocrites. They will not be initiated into the rites prescribed by the Vedas, and they will oppose the Vedas. They will be unclean and foolish. They will wear their hair matted like Mahadeva. They will wear ornaments made of bones, and they will smear ashes on their bodies like their master. They will drink Sura. Since they have condemned the Vedas, which form the basis of the four ashramas and that of society, they will move in a world indifferent to the rules of society. They will earn the contempt of the world of men because of the nefarious methods with which they perform worship. They will form a religion which has for its goal the slighting of the Vedas. These worshippers of Mahadeva will be beyond the pale of men who have all these many years worshipped the Vedas, who have followed the path laid out by the sadhus, who have realized that Narayana is the soul of the Vedas, and therefore the Vedas have to be worshipped. These Pashandis will all be afflicted with the lowest of the three gunas, the Tamoguna. Mahadeva, who was silently sitting all this while, got up and with a sad look on his face walked out of the Yagnashala, followed by his adherents. The Satrayaga came to a conclusion after the 1,000 years set apart for the performance. The performers then went to the spot where the sacred Ganga and Yamuna come together and with pure and contented minds went back to their ashramas. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Pranamastu. Chapter 36 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Conflict in Kailasa. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. A long time had passed after the incident in the Brahma Satra. Brahma had now crowned Daksha as the foremost among the Prajapatis, and as a result of this, Daksha had become more swollen with pride and arrogance than he had before. To show his contempt for Mahadeva, he began to perform a yajna by name Brihaspati Sava. All the Brahmarshis, Devarshis, Pitris, Devas attended the yajna. Sati, the wife of Mahadeva, heard about the yajna which was being performed by her father. She saw an endless stream of men and women dressed beautifully, going towards the spot where the yajna was being performed. She went to her lord and said, "Your father-in-law, my father, has begun to perform a great yajna. We should also go there. All the devas and rishis are there with their wives. People are still going in the direction of the Yagashala, and so it is evident that it is not over. I want to go there, my lord. I want to meet my mother and my sisters whom I have not seen for a long time. I am very eager to go and see the yajna. You are the Lord of the universe and you seem to consider this yajna as very ordinary. But I am a woman and I cannot help being excited at the thought of going to a yajna which my father is performing. From the look on your face, I can see what you want to say. We are not invited. What if we are not invited? Good men do not wait to be invited to the house of their masters, gurus, fathers, friends. Please take pity on me, and my longing to go there should be gratified by you. Will you not take me there and make me happy?" Mahadeva smiled sadly at his wife. He looked at her eager face and was sorry he could not grant her what she was asking of him. He remembered the cruel words of Daksha spoken long ago. He said, "My dearest wife, my Sati, the thought of going to your father's house, in spite of the fact that we have not been invited, would not have mattered if he had been a different person. But your father, Daksha Prajapati, is puffed up with pride. Drunk as he is with power, he is not likely to pay us the respect that is due to us. Your father is possessed of great qualities: learning, tapas, wealth, a beautiful body, age, noble birth. All these, if they are found in a good man, are indeed ornaments to the man. However, your father has become proud because he possesses these. I am learned, I am a tapasvi. Thoughts like these have made him insufferably proud, and he will not brook the greatness that is me. There are different types of pride, but the pride born of learning and tapas is the worst, and your father suffers from that malady. The hurt caused by a cruel relative pains much more than arrows sent by an enemy. The enemy's arrows make you faint, and you are not conscious for long of the pain caused by them. Do you not know it? Your father loves you. In fact, he loves you most amongst his children. But then he does not like me. He thinks that I insulted him and he hates me. And so he will not treat you with the affection which you expect of him. Perhaps you do not remember the reason for his anger. There was once a Yagnashala which he entered. Everyone stood up and greeted him. I did not stand up and do likewise. Do you know why? When a person gets up and makes namaskara to another, the greetings are known as pratyugamanam and abhivandanam. These have some meaning. The wise have said, the inherent Purusha in one greets the Purusha in the other. The respect is not paid to the man, to the body which holds the Purusha, but to the Purusha himself who lodges in everyone. But this father of yours claimed that respect should be paid to him. I could not do it. When a good man meets one who is full of ego, so much so that his Atman is not seen by him because of his clouded intellect, then respect will not be paid to him by the good. Long ago, your father spoke despairingly of me. He spoke cruel words and insulted me in the presence of everyone. He has cursed me. I am denied my share of the havis in the yagas performed to the devas. He is your father, no doubt, but he happens to be my enemy, and all his followers are my enemies. I do not wish him and his followers to set their eyes on you. You happen to be my wife. Silently, Sati was listening to his words. He looked at her and he sensed her rebellion. He could see all the thoughts that were passing in her mind. But he had to be firm. He said, if, however, you choose to ignore my words and decide to go, I can assure you that no good will come of it. To the proud and sensitive mind, an insult from one's own people will mean only one thing: death. I am warning you, you will not be welcomed by anyone there, since you are no longer Daksha's daughter but Mahadeva's spouse. Sati was very unhappy. Her husband had asked her not to go. He had said that she should not go, that it would end in disaster if she went against his wishes. But her heart was in the Yagnashala where her dear ones were present. She would walk in and out of her little home trying to decide on the course of action. And Mahadeva was watching her all the while without speaking a word. Prevented as she was by her husband from going to her people, her eyes filled with tears. And at the same time, women like, she looked angrily at her husband since he would not accede to her wish. She asked for so little and he would not grant her that. Finally, her womanliness won. Leaving her husband, whose half she was, with long sighs escaping her, she made up her mind to go to the Yagnashala. She walked swiftly and straight as an arrow without looking back. The servants of Mahadeva followed her. They placed her on a glorious bull and they went towards the Yagnashala. And Mahadeva was sitting all alone. His mind was filled with sadness. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu.